Greetings. I wasn't planning on making a video today, but I just had to jump on real fast. I hope it's fast. Because it was something I wanted to talk to you about. I have, in recent weeks, somewhere on my Facebook, somebody posted a call out. I think it was one of the groups that I belong to, some pagan group, Facebook group, that was asking, call out, asking who in this group is an empath. And within just minutes, hundreds of people were replying, I am. They were replying so quickly. It was like everybody who had seen the post was an empath. Louie. Thank you. Come here. It was like everybody who had seen the post identifies with being an empath. Well, I sort of said, really? That's a little odd. And then I kind of let it go. And then I saw a couple other friends since then have been posting things about being an empath. So today or yesterday, I'm not sure which, someone posted, what is this? Kind of common traits of an empath, and to explain how, here you know why I'm the way I am, which I read, and then it reminded me years ago, so I don't know how many years ago, Jude, friend of ours here, many of us on YouTube, who used to have a channel here on YouTube, posted a traits of an empath link, and it provoked a discussion between people who thought they were empath. Okay, so it's a roundabout thing I'm trying to say. But I really want to talk to you about this. I want to talk to you about this because I want to say, first of all, if you've been following my channel at all, you know that I do identify with being an empath. I am an empath. I don't think it is an advantage. As a matter of fact, it's a disadvantage in many ways. I didn't always know I was an empath till I was quite quite a pretty mature adult. I think it increases as you get older. If you have traits toward being an empath, it will increase as you get older. I have also mentioned that my oldest daughter is starting to show traits of an empath, which is causing her some difficulties. But the reason I want to bring it up is, I don't know what it is about people. So many people just want to jump on the bandwagon and identify themselves with some label or another for whatever reason, I'm not sure. And this really doesn't have anything to do with the YouTube community, but it sort of explains why I'm sort of having a little bit of a rant about this. Some of my other communities that I belong to, among those people, there is a great affinity. People have a great affinity for identifying with being a geek or a nerd. I'm a geek or I'm a nerd. And for a lot of those people, I'm not even sure what that means. Sometimes it irritates me really a lot, because for many people, just because they have read perhaps a book or two with comprehension, and maybe even have gone off in some fringy place and been able to speak Klingon or whatever they think they can speak, they think they are somehow superior. Number one, superior to other people, and number two, exempt from displaying characteristics which are, socially accepted characteristics, small traits, mores, whatever you want to say, traits, or that, like public manners, using manners, using, socially accepted behavior, like not being rude, not acting in a way that is, disrespectful or whatever. Some people just say, well, I'm just a geek. That's the way I am. I just have never learned how to really fit in with other people. You know what? I just am not buying that. I am just not going to buy that. That's an excuse. It's an excuse. Because you're smart, or because you read a lot of books, or whatever, or because you were shy, or because you were backward, and maybe not, have confidence, does not give you. It does not give you the right to behave in a rude manner, or rude or disrespectful manner. Those are not. It's not the same thing. Now, I don't have to explain that. That's obvious, right? It's obvious. So when we start getting into this world in the pagan community, or the community of witches, or whatever you want to call it that you belong to, there's a lot of labels that people identify with. Some people identify as Louis. Excuse me, Louis. That's it. Cut it out. I don't know what's the matter with my dog. I don't know why I bring my dog in here in the first place, because he doesn't know how to behave. Anyway, what I want to say is, in the pagan community, within the pagan community, there are labels that some people want to identify themselves as. Like one, for instance, is psychic. Like a lot, especially tarot readers. There'll be tarot readers who will say they are psychic. Which, as a tarot reader, that might be a very beneficial thing to be. Now, I know Arwen, who is a very respected, very excellent tarot reader, very experienced, identifies herself as a psychic tarot reader. She thinks that most tarot readers, or people are, maybe even people think, are pretty much psychic. She's one of those believers. If you're going to do any kind of a tarot reader, you probably are somewhat psychic. I've never really identified with being psychic, but I can tell you, being a psychic tarot reader would be a beneficial thing to be. So I can see why a lot of people, if they think they are psychic, would advertise themselves as being a psychic tarot reader. Okay? Now, on the reverse, let's talk about people being empaths. Why would you advertise yourself as being an empathic tarot reader? Because if you understand what the term empathic means, it really is not going to help you to be a good tarot reader. And I'll explain why. A lot of people think being an empath means that you're very, very sensitive and pick up on everybody's feelings and all their stuff. You pick up on if they're sad, you feel they're sad. If they're happy, you feel their joy. If they're whatever, that you feel it magnified. That's what a lot of people think it means. Well, first of all, you're not talking about being empathic in that case. You're talking about being empathetic, someone who really identifies with somebody's pain. But if it was what being an empath was all about, why would that make you a better tarot reader, for instance? Why would that make you a better at, reading palms, or reading tea leaves, or reading runes, or scrying? Why would it make you better? Just because you can understand more what the person feels doesn't mean you can read the energies around that person. You see, that's not the skill you need. Being psychic, yes, would help you probably a great deal if you really were truly psychic. But being empathic does not necessarily make for being a good reader. Now, I tell people that I'm empathic because I think I need to. First of all, because I'm sensitive. So in my case, I'm very sensitive to energies around. I can tell when there's negative things around. I can tell when there's positive things around me. And we're going to get into some of these the criteria really for being a true empath, if you want to call it that, in a few minutes here. But just think about this. If I'm really good at reading, this anger, so much anger around me. Well, I have to know, is that my anger? Is that the anger of the person I'm reading? Is that the anger of the person sitting on the other side of the door? Who is that person? Who is the anger? That's not necessarily, you see, a good thing unless I can identify, if I can identify whose anger that is, or what that angry energy is, okay? Who it belongs to. And that is why I use the tarot cards. That is why I am very, very attached to the tarot card, because the tarot card, when those cards are reading the person, if they're reading the clearance the energies that are appropriate for the querent, okay, that's what I want to read. I don't want to read my energy, so I have to be able to distinguish the one from the other, and the one way to do that is through the tarot cards themselves. So I really have to have a very good understanding of what the cards are saying, and then I combine that, of course, with my intuition, if you want to call it that, or my experience, or whatever, right? Does that make any sense? Okay? So merely identifying yourself as an empathic tarot reader is really not a good selling point if people really understand what an empath is. So that being said, my question is, are these people that are identifying as empaths really that many of us? Are there really that many of us? Or are some people confused as to what it really is? And I just want to talk to you about that just for a few minutes, because it's kind of a pet peeve of mine that people just really are not educating themselves. And they're, you know, it's one of those incidents where a little bit of knowledge is a bad thing. So, first of all, an empath, people who has empathic qualities, is not the same thing as someone who is empathetic or who has a lot of qualities of empathy. Having empathy is understanding and feeling how people feel. Oh, I know how you feel. I've been there, you know. Oh, I remember how it was. Oh, that same thing happened to me once, and it's just horrible. And now that you're telling me that this has happened to you, I can really remember the pain, and I feel the pain, and oh, I identify with that so strongly. I'm really so sorry that you're going through this. That's empathy. That's empathy. It's not empathic. It's not being an empath. Okay? That is not being an empath. As a matter of fact, sometimes I really could care less. Some people are going through some things, and sometimes I care. Of course you care, but it's not like I care so much. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You're so scared because you lost your job and you can't pay your bills, and oh my God, it makes me sick of the thought of it. No, that's not what being an empath is. That's what being empathic is. That's what being a good friend is. Not all empaths have qualities, have characteristics, empathetic qualities. Now I'm getting you confused on the logistics of the word, but you understand? Let me say that again. Not all empaths have empathetic qualities. We don't all care and identify with other people's sadness. And likewise, I can't sometimes identify with your joy. I don't always share happiness with people that maybe I should. And I'll tell you why in a little while. You know? Did anybody ever tell you something and, I should be happy for you. I'm just kind of not, I don't really care. I don't really care. That's not being empathetic, but it could be being empathic. Okay? Two different things. I don't want to get into too many things about where their difference is. But right now I want to talk to you about what an empath is, because if you're going to identify as being an empath, you really need to know what it is about. Now, if you will go back in the beginning, not beginning, but I don't know how long ago it was, one of my earlier videos, the title, it even says in the title about you might be an empath or traits of an empath or something like that. It was a video response to Jude Direct, I think it was her name on her channel. But she had located a website that had traits of an empath, and she was asking how many people identify with some of these, and some of them are just, there is a sensitivity to other people's pain. Now that's true. Like, a lot of empaths have a sensitivity, but it doesn't necessarily follow that they identify with it. What it means is you can feel the pain you can feel the pain around you. I don't know how to explain it. I explain it best by imagining that most empaths have difficulties in crowded situations, crowded, stressful situations, places like I've said this before, in an enclosed shopping mall, like 2 days before Christmas, in big crowds, where everybody's like in a panic, running around, and everything they're trying to find is, on their children's Christmas list is been sold out or whatever, and they're desperately trying to, and they're spending money that they don't have, and, those kind of things. That's an overwhelming feeling for an empath, because there's so much stuff going on around us, so many energies that are not ours, that are kind of bouncing off of us, that I sometimes would feel physically sick going into a mall, that kind of a situation. I don't like to fly, but I'll tell you, I'm sort of scared to fly, but I feel worse in the airport than I do on the actual plane. Because by the time people are on the plane, they're either, a lot of people are asleep, or they're drinking or whatever, or they're resigned to the fact that they're up in the air. But it's the getting to the plane, it's the going through all those things, it's the people that are worried about making their flight, or worried about, or sad because they're not going to see their loved ones, or whatever. There's so many emotions, and sometimes it can be very crowded in an airport. And that is where I feel the worst. In the lines waiting to go through security, it's really hard, because I have so many people right up against me with so many feelings and emotions. That's really difficult. Okay. If you look at that earlier video, there's quite a few traits in there listed. I talk about some of those. Some of them are repeated in the one somebody just posted again on my friends list, on my friends feed, on my feeds, on one of my friends, Facebook friends, posted. And I was just going to go through, I think there's 15 of these. I'm not really sure about a couple of those, but talk about what I think it could be true. Where we said number 1, they are extremely sensitive. That's what we meant by, it's not so much they feel, here it says they feel a person's suffering as if it's your own. Well, not necessarily. That's being empathic. That's more being empathic. I mean, empathetic. See, I can't even give them straight. That's more being empathetic. What it is you feel the pain out there, but sometimes there's a confusion if it's yours or somebody else's. Sometimes, if you feel like a panic, is that me? Should I be panicked? Should I be worried that something bad's going to happen? Or is that somebody else's bad stuff that I'm picking up on? That's the sensitivity. That's the sensitivity. Or there's a lot of sadness around me, or there's a lot of, going into someplace like, oh, I don't know. I remember as a little girl going to the site at Gettysburg with my parents. And I had to leave. I had to leave. I remember having my mother, she kind of like forced it, like we had to leave there. I don't know what it was about it. She probably thought at the time that I was a spoiled child that just wanted ice cream or wanted to go. But I really remember that I didn't feel good being there, and I felt better when I left, because there's a lot of death happening right there. I was in a lot of negative energy going on there. And of course I did not realize I was an empath at that time, but that's what I'm talking about. You feel that kind of energy. That's where your sensitivity lies. Highly intuitive. Yeah, knowing positive and negative vibes. I've said this before, that somebody said that as of an empath, that perhaps the reason people are empathic are they're just maybe better at reading body language than other people. But anyway, I know what people are thinking. I know when people are lying to me and that are trying to hide their true feelings or whatever. I know it, and it's very difficult to have relationships with people when that's the truth, when that's happening. You can imagine how that would be. You can imagine how that would be. Getting drained easily is part. A lot of people say they come down with sicknesses or whatever. I did I told you like a couple weeks ago, I did a tarot evening with, where I read, no. I read 13 tarot readings. I don't know why I'm drinking wine, because it's not even the weekend anymore. I'm still on the weekend. Anyway, it tastes good. lot of people will get physically ill, or if somebody around them is ill and they know they're ill, sometimes they come down with the symptoms. That's what this person says in here. I'm not sure about that. That's almost psychosomatic illness, you know, where you're taking on symptoms, manifesting symptoms when you don't have the actual illness. You do know that women very often, and I talked about this before, well, often women who live together, like in a family or in a dormitory situation or whatever, will cycle together, and that happens very often. That's a form of, that's an empathic behavior, but it's not necessarily mean you're an empath if you do, that happens to you. But I'll tell you, when I did that, the tarot evening, and I did 13 readings, I was very drained of it. And that kind of thing, when happens, emotionally draining, physically drained of energy, not ill, but physically drained. And what will happen to me when I will go into a, see, this is the double-edged sword, kind of a double-edged sword. If I go into a party, okay, now let me go back a minute. When I said in the beginning of this video that just being an empath does not give you an excuse for being a rude person. And a lot of people will, and I'm sorry, but a lot of people use that as an excuse. I'm so sorry, I'm so oversensitive, and I'm so sensitive to crowds that I just can't be friendly or kind or whatever. If that's the case, don't go. If you're invited to a party, then don't go. Because I find the case, and that doesn't necessarily mean you're an empath. I'm sorry, I don't think it does. Because it could just also mean that you're shy on top of it. Because I am shy on top of being an empath. But I was raised in a way that I know what is appropriate behavior, and I notice my responsibility as a guest at someone's party to at least make an attempt to be friendly, to win and introduce myself to somebody that I don't know, that I'm sitting beside at a dinner table or whatever. Try to make a little bit of conversation. But what I usually do in group situations is when I get into the group, I will pass through the group kind of quickly, hello, 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 and then I will make headway. I will find a small group that I feel comfortable with. Maybe some people that I know, or some people that I know are maybe a quieter group, and I will set up my home base right there beside them. I'll take residence in a chair or with a table, put my glass on the table, put my plate there. That's where I'm going to park pretty much for the rest of the evening. Okay, I do that because if I'm around too much of the activity, what's the matter? If I'm around too much of the activity, you knocked my sage down. Let go. Good. If I'm around too much of the activity, it just emotionally drains me, and I can't. I'm kind of a good actress. That's what I want to say. A lot of empaths are good actresses. So I was able to go into a place, and I pretend I'm okay. I pretend I'm good. I make my pleasantries, you know, hello, 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 whatever. And if I'm not able to escape to some sort of quiet place, I can still be there and make a couple rounds later, but I can't stay in the middle of it. If I stay in the middle of it, I become so emotionally drained, trying to keep my face, trying to keep my face up. Do you understand what I'm saying? That I lose my strength, and I start to show everything. I start to show all of my fatigue, all of my what I really feel. So you're going to read my face. You're going to read on my face, I'm bored, or I don't like you, or I wish you'd shut up, or you're going to read the emotions on my face, so I'm not going to be able to get along with people too well. People aren't going to like me too much. It's like that kind of a thing. I'm a good actress. I pretend, you know, that I'm happy to be there, which I'm kind of happy to be there. I'm happy to be included, but within limits, okay? So that's a very common thing. But do you see the difference between that and somebody who is just antisocial, or just, you know, goes over and doesn't speak to anybody, or, you know, that's rudeness. That has nothing to do with an empath, because an empath by the very nature of their sensitivities, really does know how. And you see a lot of empaths who are on stage, that they're good actors. They're good in front of stage because that's a character. I can put this character on, this persona on, and I can go up and sing you a song. I can put my persona on. I can go up and I can teach a classroom of children. I can put my persona on. I can stand on stage and do my lines when we interact with other people. I can put my persona on. I can sit in an orchestra and play my part. You know, what's ever on the orchestra. But when it's all done, and I'm tired, I gotta have a chance to let my face, I gotta be able to let it rest. I gotta rest from it. Because if I don't, my emotions are going to be on my face. My moods are going to come out. Okay, I can only keep up the persona so long, right? We can't keep that up indefinitely. Right? That's the difference. It's a big difference, but we can still do it. But we're very easily drained. We tire easily, emotionally too, and we are often quite moody because we have to act like we're okay. Right? I know you're lying to me. I know you're really a son of a bitch and you're pretending to be cool and everybody thinks you're really cool, but I know you're what you really are. But I've got to pretend right now that I really like you because I can't let you see that I know what you're like. Then we have a problem, and that's where I've had a problem in the past before because I'm reacting to the way they really are. And I'm like in their head and kind of creepy. Okay? So, number 4 was they pick up physical symptoms of others. Okay, for me, not necessarily physical symptoms, but another thing I will do, and I mentioned this before, I don't pick up physical symptoms, but I will pick up moods. If people are happy, sometimes, the happiness, I will catch it, or sadness or anger, I'll catch it. But more, I pick up speech patterns or accents, and it's horrible. I don't mean to do it. I don't mean to do it because all of a sudden I'm talking to you and I'm using your accent. I'm mimicking your accent and I don't mean to. It's just that it's just an automatic response. And it's quite embarrassing because people will think you're making fun of them if you do that. And I really don't mean to do that. I really don't mean to do that. Okay. Number 5, they imbibe emotions of other people and themselves. We kind of said that. Again, I think that's a simplistic statement. I don't think that's quite the way it is. We can feel the emotions. I can feel fear around me. I can feel pain around me. I can feel sadness. If you're sad or whatever, I can usually tell. It doesn't necessarily mean I take it on myself, but I feel it, that it's present. But it doesn't mean I feel pain because you feel pain. No. I'm helping friends and strangers. It talked about, in the other list, it talked about how strangers will come. This is one thing that happens that's sort of problematic with an empath. There's something about us that people feel very comfortable with, and they want to come and tell us they're sad. People tell me all kinds of stuff. I don't even know people, and they come up and tell me their troubles, or tell me something about their husband, or like I just went to the ladies' room and I come out and I know about somebody's husband. Like, why do I know about your husband? I don't even know your husband. Why do I even know you? Why are you telling me that? People tell me stuff. And what happens is, there's a tendency when you have acquaintances who tell you stuff, that you feel that they're more of a friend than they really are. You can start to consider them friends. But then when they don't really treat you as friends or include you as friends, you see that's a problem. That's a hurt. There's a confusion. Are you my friend or are you an acquaintance? And I've had that trouble in the past, not exactly knowing what are we? What are we? I thought we were friends, but I guess we were just acquaintances. Feeling nature being drawn towards human beings, but also animals and plants. Well, of course, a lot of empaths are very attached to animals. You'll find a lot of crazy cat ladies who are empaths. It's just like you can't turn them away. That cat needs help, or the dog needs help, or the bird needs help, or the whatever needs help. You can't turn it away. I'm real sad today. I've been sad the last couple of days because our neighbor had his trees topped, those big beautiful trees, not the tall ones where the crows sit, but where they nest, where bird once went up and nested when he was first nesting. When he was first, we were first able to get him to go up and sleep in the tree for at nighttime. I went up in these trees back here, and they're gone. So there's not going to be any safe place for the birds right now till those trees grow back, and they'll grow back quickly, but right now there's no place, and we're sort of paying the price too, because there was a giant hawk at our coop yesterday, and there were no crows. There were no crows to run that hawk out of here, so we're paying the price of that too. But anyway, I do feel really sad. I feel like, what did he do to those trees? Instead of a nice gentle pruning, they just hack them off. So we kind of feel sadness towards that. Not being able to tolerate violence, I'm not sure if that has to do with an empath or not. Some people just don't like violence, but I will tell you that I have a tendency to hide from it. And sickness and things. I don't know why, but I kind of do. I'm not proud of it, but I have a tendency to do that, which is kind of funny. I was in nursing school for a while, and I did okay in nursing school. I seemed to like it, and even I was with some, geriatric people in the nursing home, and I kind of liked that too. But I didn't know them. But if it was people that I knew, like when my own relatives, my parents were failing or whatever, I didn't hide from it, but I kind of wanted to separate myself from it. And if there's something on TV, I really don't look. I just don't look. So many times, unless it's something where there's nothing sad or scary or something happening, when I'm watching TV, I'm always doing something else. Like I'm knitting or even reading or, doing a puzzle, something. So that I have someplace to hide. Again, number 9, telling if another person is lying. That's one of the most difficult things. It's not easy. And then I have real trouble trusting people, because I know, because everybody, well, I want to say it's funny, but everybody tells little fibs, I guess. Everybody has little things, or things they don't want you to know. Like even I have things inside me that I don't want everybody to know. It's just maybe not a bad thing, but it's just like it's my own private business. Well, you can understand. So if somebody's trying to keep something from me, just because they're keeping it from everybody, it's their own private business, and I kind of know about it, you can see where that's a problem. Because I kind of react to them like I know about it. I don't tell them, but from your reaction, and the person in question, that's what I'm talking about, how we then have a personality problem. We have a problem getting along because they feel intruded upon. Maybe they don't know why, but they feel like I'm intruding in their private business, even if I don't mean to. Even if I try to keep it from them, I'm still reacting to it, and they feel the intrusion. So it's difficult to be friends. Attracting sad people. I do attract sad people. I attract, broken people. I attract all of them. That's the kind of people we attract. But I'm not sure why. Because again, I don't really have anything that I can do to alleviate people's pain. And I don't take the pain from them. So I'm not sure what that is about. 11, finding it difficult to stay in crowds. We've already talked about that. Just enjoying the solitude now. Yeah, I enjoy the solitude, but it's a different thing than from being, solitary, from being just pulling yourself off to being a hermit. I'm not a hermit. I want to see people. I have to see people. It's funny, I don't live in the country. I live right here in the middle of a suburb in California, but in a very crowded area. But I'll tell you, I have more privacy in my home here than I had in were living in a rural area in a small town of Pennsylvania out in the woods, because everybody could see you there. You know, your neighbors might have been a bit away, but they could always see if you were home, what you were doing. If you were in your yard, they could see you because there were no fences. You know, here we have, first of all, I'm in a cul-de-sac. You can't even see my front door. You can barely see into my yard. Second of all, our whole yards here are all fenced, very high fences or walls or whatever. So we're really, even though the neighbor is pretty close up against us, they can't see us. We have this sense of privacy. So it's really good to be home and to be in my sense where I am by myself. I can go skinny dipping in my pool. And as long as the news helicopter's not flying overhead or somebody's drone, nobody knows I'm skinny dipping. No, I could never have done that in the small town of Pennsylvania, that's for sure. And that is true, where you're affected by the energy place where you are is where you get your, affects your psyche. And that is really true. So I'm able to come home from wherever I was, and from that crowded airport, from the crowded mall, from the party, whatever, come home and restore my psyche, restore myself in my surroundings. Can sense the energy of the collective consciousness. That's really true. I mean, feeling the excitement when, like right now, there's an excitement in Los Angeles with the people in the World Series. I'm not really following. I like to follow, but I don't watch the games and stuff. So, but you can feel the excitement and the pride and whatever. You can feel that about the World Series. You can feel when people are getting caught up in the you know, whatever the holiday is. You can feel that. There was something more I wanted to say about that. I'm not sure. I can't remember what it was. But a difficulty that we have, like, this is what I want to explain, the difficulty. If I were to go to a party, like a party or a you know, I just went to a bridal shower. Let's say a bridal shower, and somebody has something. Maybe your office, you people you work with are having a bridal shower for somebody or a party for somebody. So you realize in these politics of the office, if you have a kind of a small office and you're having some kind of a gathering that includes people in the office, you're supposed to include everybody. So everybody should be invited to this thing. And have you ever had that happen to you? You're invited to a thing, and you maybe, if they didn't have that feeling that they needed to invite you, they were obliged to invite you, you probably wouldn't have been invited. Did you ever have that feeling? You go into a party, and that's what it's like. You go into a party, and you know right away that they only invited you because they felt they had to. Nobody says that. Everybody can be very polite. Everybody can be, kind of, inclusive. They can treat you like everybody else. But as an empath, what they feel, that they wish you wasn't there. It'd been more fun if you wouldn't have been there. That's the bad part about being an empath. You can't get past that. You have that kind of thing. You can't get past that. It's not something that you wish on anybody. It's just not. 15 is the one I really don't think I agree with. They don't care about themselves, it says. The empath spends too much time helping others. They don't pay heed to their own needs. The empath must realize that if they don't take care of themselves, nobody else will. Well, I do care about myself, and I don't think that I care about others ahead of me. I don't think I do that on purpose. But I do know that I do a lot of things, like I do worry maybe too much and try to do too much for other people because I worry too much trying to please people. I'm a pleaser. I want to please them. I want people to be happy. I want people to have a good time at my party, even if I'm not going to have a good time. I'm going to work myself and not even care because it's more important that they had a good time, or they would think less of me. I don't think that has to do with me being an empath, though. I think that just has to do with, that's another characteristic of my personality that maybe is not so flattering. I don't know. But I don't think it's the same thing. And this is the reason I kind of wanted to go over this with everybody, because it's not like, this is not a badge of pride you wear. Like, I have this great thing about me that, oh, if you only knew I was an empath and I have this tremendous ability to do stuff. It's not that kind of a thing. It is very crippling in a lot of ways. And it does not, as we're talking about the community of pagan witches, it does nothing to help me be a better tarot reader. It does nothing to help me be a better witch. It does nothing for any of those things. Do you understand that? So I'm not sure why everybody wants to jump on the wagon and say they're an empath if they're really not. I mean, let's say you really need to know what you are. You really need to understand yourself. But we are much more than one thing. Like I said before, I can also be shy. I can also be, stubborn. I can also be a control freak a little bit. I like to be in charge because I want it done right, and I think I'm the only person that can do it right. That has nothing to do with being an empath. That has something completely to do with something else, right? That's a completely other ballgame. Don't lump all of your stuff under one umbrella and say it's because I'm psychic, so, whatever. Anyway, it's kind of a rant. I don't know. I didn't mean to insult anybody. I hope I didn't insult anybody. And why should it? And it really shouldn't matter to me if you want to call yourself an empath or not. It really shouldn't. My purpose in doing this video really basically was, especially if you're something like a tarot reader or reading tea leaves or reading runes or something, doing that for people, for other people having clients. Just calling yourself an empathic reader is really not selling. It's not selling yourself any better. Do you understand? That's really not something that's really making you a better reader. If anything, if you are an empath, it is my opinion, you need to know the cards much better than somebody who's just a psychic reader or an intuitive reader. Somebody who's just like, I'm getting a feeling that this is what these cards are trying to say. Now, yes, of course, I do get that feeling. I do get feelings like that. Don't get me wrong, I'm just not all about the book. But I do know that I am a good reader because I really, really have a knowledge of the cards. I've known the cards, I've gotten to know the cards, and I trust what I'm saying. And the cards help keep this scattered empath, the person who's going here and there with this other stuff around me, focusing in on the energy of the querent, which is where my energy needs to be if I'm going to be a good reader. Did you get that? I hope you get that, because that's really what this whole blathering was about that. I want to say that. Anyway, thank you so much for coming to my channel. I hope I didn't make things worse. Anyway, as always, I am Rebecca the Good Wife, and I wish you blessings. Cheers.